shelter now. And then Washington, Missouri would be headed towards you eventually, even though I don't see a real distinct circulation right now. I'm still going to track it for you. So what we'll do is put the larger track here off to, and did you double check the speed? Are we still at 50 on that new warning?
The new warning, 55.
Okay, those squall lines, they zoom. Here you go. Lyon now. You see Aspenhof, Washington about 11 minutes, Dutzow in 14 minutes. Augusta, New Melle, that'd be about 20 to 23 minutes. Wentzville, I know, you've been through the ringer already with the hail, but 26 minutes. If you have friends or family in Wentzville and you think maybe they're not quite paying attention to the weather as well as we hope they should be, maybe give them a call or a text, because when you get hit with that heavy, large hail and there's people with windshields that are busted out, they're inspecting that damage and they may not be paying attention. So at least give them that heads up that something else is coming their way and they need to be paying attention. So that's a new tornado warning. Defiance, it would be in about 27 minutes. And again, there's probably going to be multiple circulations that we'll have to stay on top of here. Let me zoom in and see what that latest update looks like. Still coming towards New Haven is the most likely candidate there. Storm relative here data is going to help me. And these green and red colors just help me see the raindrops, the direction and speed they're moving in the storm. And it's right here. It's right on 100 west of New Haven. So I think that if there is a tornado, it's probably going to be on the northwest side of New Haven. But see that bright green? That's some strong gusts of wind that are going to hit New Haven. So if you're in New Haven, you still want to be, especially north side of town, but you still want to be in your tornado safe shelter, down in the basement. If you don't have a basement, it's the lowest level. Put as many walls between you and the outside. You want to avoid windows. An interior room usually is a good spot. Just because it's a bathroom doesn't necessarily mean it's a good spot. If it's got an exterior wall and a window, that's bad. You want an interior room where you can protect yourself more with those multiple walls from any flying debris. And if there is any, it's going to be coming out of this section of the storm, and then this would have some strong winds that might take down some trees, maybe power lines. Switch over to the Doppler winds, or the first alert radar, and yeah, that's coming right at New Haven. Okay, so anywhere along that line, you can see it bowing out right here. I'm going to draw it for you. Strong winds, threat for damaging winds. And then, of course, along that line, we have to watch for those circulations. I pinpointed one just on the northwest, the north side of New Haven. So that's our newest tornado warning. If that continues, that goes through Warren County and up into St. Charles County, kind of towards Wentzville. And at 50 miles per hour, that would be around Wentzville, Lake St. Louis in about 24 minutes. So that's the latest tornado warning that we're tracking. The one to the south in kind of going towards Nashville, that's the second and the only other one. So there's two out there that we're tracking. One right here, and then one coming at New Haven. So 2 tornado warnings that we're tracking, a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings we're tracking as we continue our storm coverage today.
Live from First Alert 4, this is a breaking weather alert.
Look at this one, what it did. Holy cow.
Hail damage impacting people all throughout the metro area. So many of you sending pictures and videos just like this, showing as big as golf ball sized hail coming down on cars, homes, and businesses. And right now, First Alert 4 continues to track and follow severe storms. Here is a live look at radar you see in the top left. And we have crews throughout the area following what you just saw, quite a bit of damage today. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Corey Stark. And I'm Lauren Traeger. So let's get straight to our chief meteorologist, Steve Templeton, who has been tracking the latest for us tonight. Steve, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, we're still following it. 2 of those tornado warnings we're just tracking. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings, hail, large hail, and destructive winds are all possible. Let me start with those tornado warnings as we dig in. One is off to the west of St. Louis, and that one looks like it's more of a squall line that would have smaller circulations, but potentially a tornado. We saw this happen near Brighton, Illinois this morning with admittedly stronger storms than expected this morning. That would be this type of situation out of this little line right here that now looks like it has moved northeast of New Haven. So if you're in New Haven, let me zoom in. I'm going to guess that the circulation's probably going to be just to the east and northeast of you. Pretty much. Give it another maybe couple minutes and you'll be in the clear. Let me just backtrack a little bit. These are tougher signatures to find, but it's a little burst of wind right here, and then on the northern flank right here, that's where we would find potential for kind of a weaker, brief tornado, but still a tornado, and that would split Pinckney and Marthasville as it moves up to the northeast, very near Pinckney, which you want to be in your tornado safe shelter as well. I mean, that thing would be just on the south side of town, and that's southern Warren County. So this would be the line here between Franklin County and Warren County, and it could head up to the north towards Warrenton, Wentzville, an area that's already seen large hail and had a rotating storm that we have no confirmation of a tornado on from earlier. So give you an idea of the longer range track on this as that moves to the northeast, and the latest speed we had was about 50 miles per hour. That puts it, well, we mentioned Innsbruck earlier. That was earlier with a storm that was producing rotation. Haven't heard of any damage, but now you got another storm in about 11 minutes. Forestell in about 19. Wentzville, 24 minutes, and Lake St. Louis in about 28 minutes. The other storm we have is down southeast in Washington County, and that storm's rotation's a little weaker, but headed right over the Nashville area. It weakened recently, actually, and we'll just have to monitor it. It's not gone. It's not gone. It is kind of right around just the west and northwest side of Nashville, potential for tornado. So from around, and it looks like that has lifted a little bit to the north as it reforms. It's trying to reform right here. So it was on this trajectory south. Now it weakened and kind of fell apart. Now it's trying to reform in the northwest side of Nashville. That is another tornado warning. Anywhere in between Nashville and New Minden, that's 127 that crosses 64. You want to be in your tornado safe shelter. Folks that were anticipating this to maybe come through the south side, it looks like it weakened, fell apart, and now this has reformed. That's why we got to stay on top of it. So those are our 2 tornado warnings out there. We have a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings, and some of these are producing the type of rain that can create hydroplaning, but also large hail that can knock out windshields in cars. And we've seen that happen earlier in Wentzville and O'Fallon. So some of the cores, I'll switch over to the hail tracker, you can kind of see here, that helps strip away some of the lighter rain, and you see one of them coming right into Collinsville right now, another on the east side of Edwardsville. There's another over Columbia. So big time hail, threat for some damaging winds. Just be, if you're in any of these yellow boxes, just be inside and away from windows when the storm hits. The 2 storms that really have our attention as far as rotation are going to be the one that's near Nashville and then the one that's now headed into Warren County as we continue to track those 2 storms. There's also some storms south. Meteorologist Leah Hill's with us too, and she's been monitoring this section of the storm. She'll let us know if we do get anything significant out of this section of the storm, but that is another bow echo. By significant, what I mean is she's going to have to analyze, like we are on this storm, to see if there's any small-scale circulations along the leading edge there that can create a tornado.
I have a couple updates on the storm to the southwest and also a storm that just went through Edwardsville, if you want me to take over for a minute. And while I do, can you check out the rotation in Nashville?
Yeah, has that strengthened?
Just been the last couple minutes, yes.
It's probably the newly formed. It's completely different than what it was earlier. It's now north of town. Did that come in on chat?
That did, yeah. And I've been watching that one closely. I'm also still looking at, still reports there's still potential for 70-mile-per-hour winds with that storm as it's moving into Crawford County. That is, we have a new warning coming out.
That's Crawford and Reynolds and Iron, that whole line down to the southwest. Before you mentioned that new warning, nothing has really changed from the last time I analyzed this. It hasn't really strengthened, but what happened was the rotation weakened, strengthened as I said it did on the north and northwest side. So this is really kind of a newer circulation in a different location, and it's going to cross 64 and then 127 right here. So that's going to be near New Minden. which had a really destructive EF4 tornado years ago. Actually, we had tragically 2 fatalities out of that. This is not that situation. It is a tornado that you need to take serious, but it is not that type of situation. As I zoom in a little bit, you'll see New Minden pop up there. There's New Minden. The rotation would be kind of right over you. If there is a tornado, while it's weaker and brief, I'm telling you, if you're in the wrong spot, the wrong time, you're outdoors, you're in a bad spot. So be inside, away from windows, and play it safe by being down in the basement or an interior room. But this is not like the EF4 from years ago in New Minden. Nonetheless, it is a tornado warning, and as Leah said, that rotation kind of picked up and changed spots on us. Leah, what's the new warning that?
This one is not for what you would think. It's not a severe thunderstorm warning. It's not a tornado warning. It's actually for a flash flood warning. Yeah, this one just came in. And I've been watching this section of the storms very closely. They're traveling along 70 and 55. And a little side note, actually, we did get reports of damage along 55 from hail. About 20 cars had to pull off the road. And it looks like there were some minor injuries from that as hail hit the car windows. So there might have been some glass injuries, but about 20 cars off on the side of the road that were damaged on 55. And then additionally, this flood warning, this flash flood warning just came in. It goes until 9 o'clock. And so we're seeing reports of just training thunderstorms, and anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain have already fallen, and they're forecasting an additional, or calling for an additional 1 to 2 inches of rain within that area. And counties included within this new warning, or cities included, Granite City, Collinsville, Edwardsville, Glen Carbon, Wood River, Highland. The amount of people included within this new flash flood warning is about over 200,000.
238,000. So, earlier we were talking about hydroplaning and telling any loved ones who are about to get on the roads, maybe wait, because if you drive into some of this rain, you can slip off the road because it's just rain. I mean, it's tremendous downpours, and now we have the flash flood warning. 238,000 involved in that. I have the warning up without the radar, but I'm going to turn the radar on, and what I think is noteworthy here is some of these storms off to the west. Let me loop the radar. So we've got this flash flood warning, and we have more rain back off to the west that's probably going to hit that area. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with another flash flood warning for this area. See how that's starting to train? So Arnold got hit once, twice. This is a third one, once, twice, and then there, third one. So this may be another area. So I think the big lesson here is whether you're in the flash flood warning or not, if you've been hit by successive rounds of rain, you gotta be on guard for flash flooding. So there may be some roads that get, especially low-lying roads that get flooded out. Just turn around, find a different route. Yet another threat added to the severe weather for today. Of course, the reason we're on is for the large hail, damaging winds, and the tornado threat as well. The 2 tornado warnings we went over in detail, the one in Nashville that kind of changed on us and reformed, a week into reform. So that one's right there. Then there's this one that's just now. The warning includes Washington, which I'm going to zoom in on in a second. I didn't see any circulations right over Washington. It was a little farther to the north, but you were included in it. But that's moving northeast up into Warren County. So let's focus on that. And just look, look at this. It's not a warning, but it's really intense. I just want to stop and point that out. Look, these downpours can produce hail, wind, and all of a sudden they pop up. And it's hard for the weather service to keep up if they develop within a matter of 1 minute, 30 seconds. So we're in a volatile situation. If you hear storms coming in, know that they could be severe, be inside or to be away from windows. And they're generally saying the severe thunderstorm warnings are saying the threat for hail is kind of the higher end. It's about ping pong ball size hail, in some cases golf ball size hail. So let me zoom back in on this tornado warning. I know we have some new severe thunderstorm warnings coming in. I'll get to you in a second with that, Leah, but I want to focus in on where we could be seeing any rotation. And Marthasville jumps out, but I don't see a real strong signature. And then also the area I was tracking a little farther to the north, that looks weaker. That is right here. That was the area of rotation I was tracking that was just north of New Haven. I'm going back and forth, bear with me. It just helps me get my bearings and be real specific for you. But that's what I was tracking south of Pinckney, north of New Haven. But the bright green you see, I'm going to go forwards in time to right now. That would be some real strong winds. So there may be some, maybe you're on a tornado warning, but you can still get damaging straight line winds in that warning. And that's what's hitting Marthasville right now. And then we'll watch. I do not see strong rotation there. It weakened. And I don't see anything real strong right now along the leading edge. But what happens is, and the reason why the Weather Service issued these warnings is along this squall line, and it's a bowing segment really, it's not just a squall line, it's a bowing segment of this line that, see how it bows out? That's because the winds are stronger right in the middle. And so as those strong winds that are hitting Marthasville right now, as they hit, they can do damage. And then right along the leading edge, you get these little spin-ups. We call them circulations, but really they're typically brief, weaker tornadoes. And I hate to use that term weaker, but it's true because we're in a situation where some of these storms can produce higher end tornadoes. This type of situation is usually lower end. If you're in the wrong spot, wrong time, you're in a bad spot, you're in trouble. So we want to make sure you get the first alert and that you're indoors and away from windows, down in the basement to play it safe. If you're in Washington, let's see if there's any strong, nothing real strong, but maybe a little weak circulation right here north of town. You've got probably some gusty winds too coming through Washington, but that's crossing the new bridge, 47 bridge, and then it's going to be more into extreme southern St. Charles County.
I have the new warning information for that one.
Please, go ahead.
They've upped the wind speeds on it a little bit. Have not seen that they're going to extend that tornado warning. I'm watching that closely. But
fast?
They are, it's traveling at 60 miles per hour, and they're upping the wind speeds to 70 miles per hour with quarter-size hail.
Okay. And if we're going to get 70-mile-an-hour winds, it's going to be right here. It just hit Marthasville. That's the strongest winds. And what we'll watch to see is if you get these little circulations or notches that can actually develop a tornado. And right now, I don't see a real strong signature for that, but we'll watch right in here, and then real strong winds right in here. Let's track that. Let's get you an idea. So we've been spending some time on where is this, right? Giving you a heads up in Washington, Marthasville. What about next? Who's going to get hit with this next? Let's use, and you said, is it 55 miles an hour still?
The one near Augusta?
Yeah. 60 now. Wow. Yeah. So they've upped not only the threat for winds to 70 miles an hour, but they've also upped the speed here too. But I mean, I've got that in New Melly in just a matter of minutes. So definitely want to be indoors and away from windows. Is that, let's keep an eye on this. It's not hooking too much yet, but I think that's the storm that we were watching way out west of Troy. It's still going, and it's probably producing some large hail as well. So the storm, by the way, near Marthasville doesn't look tornadic any longer. It's straight line winds, maybe up to 70 miles an hour are possible. That's coming from the Weather Service. That's exactly what we're tracking here. So Marthasville, not seeing strong rotation, but we are seeing a threat for up to 70-mile-an-hour winds. The criteria for damaging, for severe thunderstorm warning is winds about 60 miles an hour, 58 technically. So when you get to 70, the type of destruction you get tends to be a little higher end. Instead of maybe tree branches, you're talking about tree limbs coming, or trees, whole trees coming down. So let's track from that, I told you in just a few minutes, that storm that I'm talking about hitting Marthasville is going to hit New Melly. I've got that. You mind checking out Progress West Hospital camera again? This is the second time we've used it. We were watching a rotating wall cloud on it earlier. Now we're looking at, we'd like to turn it around and have it look at straight line winds that are coming at it in about 11 minutes. So that would be Interstate 64 around Weldon Spring and getting into the kind of the southern part of O'Fallon in about 12 minutes, Cottleville in about 16 minutes, and that would be St. Charles City in about 24 minutes. We'll see if it holds its strength. These storms, when they've got these little surges, they can be brief and maybe not last that long, but when they're brief, they can be powerful too. I'm going to switch over to the Doppler winds. If we're going to keep an eye for rotation and a tornado threat, I don't see anything on the north side. That's usually where you want to keep an eye. I don't see anything there, but I do want to keep an eye on that right there. That would be just northwest of Augusta. Doesn't look real strong, but you're getting a little little burst of wind. Let me just show you what I'm seeing and why I would want to watch that. So these green is representing raindrops that are moving pretty fast towards the radar, and the red is moving away from the radar. So what's happening here is in that little notch where you see kind of the red making some progress into the front line of the green, what that's really showing me, because the winds aren't actually going like this, like in a highway, a two-lane highway, what's really happening is there's a little bit of rotation right there.
I have a good visual of that storm.
Great.
Camera 1, this is from St. Peter's, facing southwest.
Yeah. So a little bit of a shelf cloud right here. And I don't see, well, there's a little bit of a lowering here, but not real significant. And I don't know if that's rotating or not either. That's the other thing. That's the view. That's from Barnes-Jewish St. Peter's?
Yes.
Okay, so that's St. Peter's. What about Progress West? You want to pop that in 2 for me?
That's in 2 already. Not showing as much as the St. Peter's.
Yeah, it might be we're like too much under the overhang of the clouds, so we might have actually missed the shelf cloud. We might be, but still, this darkness in the distance is that surge of wind that we're tracking. So this is 64 right here, and over here, do you mind spinning it a little bit? Let's kind of get that Highway K view. So we're kind of looking a little bit more towards, because this is looking south. We want to look a little more to the southwest. So this is Progress West Hospital and the BJC Skycam network. We saw a rotating wall cloud on this earlier today. It gave us the ground truth that we had a storm that was rotating, but it wasn't producing a tornado. That storm did produce some large hail. And if we swing that back kind of the other way to the other way. Sorry, Leah's, we've been doing this for a long while and I can't do it without her. I appreciate it. Okay, so that's Highway K, that's good. And maybe just a little bit to the left. And that's really the view of the storm coming at us. I still don't see anything. Thank you for checking. That would be,
You can kind of see the shelf
right
there. Yeah, at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, that's it.
Midpoint of the screen.
Thank you to Leah, and thank you to our crews there in the field. First Alert 4's Nathan Vickers was out in this area, by the way, and got hit by some of that hail, and then stopped to report on some of the damage, saw some of the huge hail and some of the hail damage. He's out in the field right now. Nathan, where are you at? What are you seeing?
Steve, you're looking at the sky over the St. Charles County Emergency Operations Center. We're getting a good view of some of those clouds rolling over here. There's also quite a bit of damage here to some of the emergency vehicles. In fact, I'm going to show you a little bit of this now. Jim, my photographer, is following me here. So you probably can't make it out from back there, but there's dents to all of these hoods on just about every police car in the lineup. This one has a cracked windshield up here, and there are several like that throughout the lot over here. In fact, we talked with the emergency operations director out here. Her own car was pretty smashed up there at the other end of the lot. If we have this video, we want to show you the other hail damage that's here in St. Charles County, right down the road from here in O'Fallon at Main Street and Elm Street. This was at a mechanic shop where the hail really came down hard for a few minutes. We had busted out several car windows, and once we get this video up, you can see how dramatic it actually is. There were several cars that were damaged there. And people were out tarping up their cars. In fact, even some of the mechanics who worked there had damage to their own cars out there. And actually, I can hear the hail starting to come down again out here now. You can probably hear that in the background.
Nathan,
we want to show you.
Nathan,
yeah, we're gonna get to where safe.
Get in your car. Get in your car now.
Yep.
You're done.
Steve, we're getting out of here. We're getting out of here. Thanks.
It's not rotating. It's severe thunderstorm, and he's getting hit by hail. And I'm sure they're going to get in the car, if not already. So this is about where the St. Charles Emergency office is, and there's the storm. So sorry to cut him off, but hey, safety first. I know it's a sliver of a storm here, right? But as this comes through, that looks like the stronger hail course just north, but you could hear the pinging. There was going to be some hail, and even if it was dime size, I don't want him out in that. So sorry to cut him off, but appreciate what he was showing us, which was a storm earlier had hit with large hail, lots of damage, significant car and windshield damage, and now here we are with another storm. That's this, and then they're going to get hit by this storm. The tornado warning looks like they're not going to extend it. Am I right on that, Leah?
Doesn't look like they are. No, I am watching the storm. They're adding a tornado possible tag to that storm that is in southern Jefferson County and St. Genevieve County. So That's
Okay.
a new one that they're just
Let
kind
me
of adding that tag onto.
dig into that in a second. I just wanted to see if the circulation looked, or any circulations looked a little more interesting, and they don't on this storm. So the storm that prompted the tornado warning, the circulation looks like it is weakened, but that same storm has the potential to produce some 70-mile-per-hour winds, and that would be coming right at the radar. I'm going to switch actually over to the radar from the terminal Doppler. This is the one that's a little shorter range, but when we're within range, it can do a good job. And see that little Boeing segment right there? It's hard to pick out because there's so much going on, but that is the area where you might have some 70-mile-per-hour winds. So New Meli's just on the northern side of that. Augusta's south, I think right in between is where you'd have the worst winds, but hey, you could have some damage from New Meli to Augusta as well. I'm going to switch back over to the actually, I'm going to switch to the Doppler winds from that terminal Doppler and just kind of see what it's looking like. Okay, it gives me a good idea of the trajectory, and let's time this out for you right here. And I'm going to go at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. This thing's been really speeding up. So we've got it in Defiance in just a couple minutes. Weldon Spring in about 11 minutes. Again, what I'm tracking here is a threat for higher end 70-mile-an-hour winds. I don't see any rotation. Chesterfield, about 14 minutes. Chesterfield would be kind of on the southern flank here. I think right there is where some of the strongest winds are, but even these winds on the southern flank, like coming into Defiance, can take down some trees, tree limbs, power lines. So prepare for potential of some wind damage from around Defiance to Weldon Spring to Chesterfield, St. Charles City in about 22 minutes. You see Bridgeton in about 25 minutes. And you said Progress West is in 2, right? Yep, there it is. So that is Highway K right there going over Interstate 64. Once again, BJC Skycam Network is just great to show us what's actually happening, and that's the cloud and that's the heavy wind that's coming right into this area. So that's very near too. See all the lightning lighting it up too. That's very near the radar in Weldon Spring where the National Weather Service is located. Get back to the warnings and let's go examine that storm that Leah just mentioned. You said it was Jefferson County, is that right?
Correct.
I don't see anything in Jefferson County, so it's a new one for the storm that's in Washington County, is that right?
It is, where'd it go? I believe it's a continuation, or if not.
Yeah. It's not quite really organized yet. You don't see a real sharp line, but it's trying to. It's hitting Potosi to Caledonia now. So if you're in Jefferson County, it's quiet, but it's about to get loud with heavy rain, lightning, and potentially some strong winds. And it is a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's put a track on that. Give folks an idea of what's going on with that one.
I also want to note the wind speeds on it have come down a little bit. Earlier we were seeing wind speeds upwards of 70, 80 mile per hour, and now we're seeing them at 60, which is still enough to do some damage, but we don't have that considerable destructive damage that was possible
What do you
earlier.
have on a speed for it? Forward?
The speed would be 50 miles per hour still.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And that's really interesting to note what Leah said about how earlier it had estimated winds 70, 80 miles an hour, and those have come down. That's good news. We like to see that. Like I said, it's a little more disorganized. It's not one of those sharply structured Boeing segments. So still potential for damage. You see some of the cities in the path, Potosi to Park Hills in about 14 minutes, Farmington in about 19 minutes. All right, so that is that new severe thunderstorm warning. And just like Leah said, giving you the first alert, Jefferson County is included even though the storm's not there yet. Farmington, you've got rain, but the strongest part of the storm is still off to the west and to the southwest. Zooming out a little bit, and I'm just going to kind of survey. This is a big picture here. I like to compartmentalize what's happening here. There's 3 areas, but they're huge, and it's all really a cluster. But there's this big area of storms right here that has produced huge hail, heavy rain that's created a flash flood warning, and at times has shown some rotation. No tornado warning now in Washington County, so that's good news. I'm going to zoom in and look at that a little later. Second area right here, that's what Leah was just telling us about. Little weaker winds. Like I said, radar-wise, the presentation looks a little more disorganized. It doesn't look as well structured. If it's not as well organized or not structured, those are terms I use that basically mean it's not as strong. if it's really well structured, really well defined. I'll show you what that is if we see one develop. But bottom line is it's not for right now. That's good news. This one was a little more well defined, and so this is kind of that third area, and that's the one that we'll still monitor for circulations, but that tornado threat has really diminished, even though there's still that little sliver of a warning. This has really transitioned into a straight line wind threat. This is a storm that, it's a little guy, but this is the one we had to make Nathan get back in the car, and he's gonna have to stay in the car. If he's listening, you've got another line of storms, Nathan. So while that storm hit and then it stopped and it was brief, you've got another one coming. So our friends in Wentzville and Lake St. Louis and O'Fallon, you've been hit once, twice, 3 times. It's gonna be 4 times now. This one, let's hope, is the last. Let's get a bigger picture on that. You know what? It's not. This is lining up along the front. So these storms, they're lifting a little bit north. They're bumping up against the actual front. And until that front clears you, you can still see more rain coming at you from whether it's Warrenton to Wentzville, Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon. Here's another one in Washington. So there's more to go. Let's get the bigger picture here. That cold front is probably right about here. And so you still have this unstable air out ahead of it. The cold front's plowing in. Typically, when you've been run over by storms like we have, some of these storms are going to be on the weaker side. So I wouldn't anticipate as large of hail as we've had, the teacup size and baseball size. But there's still potential for some damaging winds, some hail, and of course we'll monitor anywhere along that front because that front can enhance rotation for any tornado warnings. But at the moment, the tornado threat on the one warning we have has really diminished. It's become more of a straight line threat here coming out of Marthasville. We have our crews all across the area to monitor for damage and let us know the ground truth of what's going on. And First Alert 4, Shoshana Stahl is out in the Silverado. What are you seeing and where are you at, Shoshana?
Yeah, Steve, so we're here in Jeffco, we're in Arnold, we're on 61 right now. We've been kind of circling through Arnold for the last 30 minutes or so, and we've seen kind of the back and forth of right now it looks calm outside, but earlier we had heavy rain, lightning, thunder, all of that kind of making it hard to see while we were driving. Right now, like you said, it is a little bit calmer, but we've been listening to you and Leah throughout this entire day, expecting what we should see next, and I want everyone at home to know how much you guys are communicating with us out here on the roads. Leah had told me earlier that there might have been some hail damage. We went and checked out the Hickory Manor area. We hadn't seen any damage there so far, but it's really nice to know how much you guys are communicating with us out here, keeping us and everyone at home informed and safe. So right now it is pretty quiet on the roads, obviously a little bit wet, but we're waiting for that wind and rain to pick up like you guys have just mentioned again here in Jeffco. So right now we're just enjoying a safer drive.
Yeah, you see how wet those streets are. You definitely are right. You've got more to come. I wouldn't be surprised if from Arnold to around Belleville gets put into a flash flood warning. So be careful out there, especially if you run across any low-lying spots.
Thank you.
See this area of red and purple? That's why I just mentioned. I wouldn't be surprised if another flash flood warning came out. So we have one that's highlighted in green. There's 238,000 people in this flash flood warning. And there might be another 200,000 if they issue another one. And what I've been watching is this area right here looks like it's been hit by multiple rounds of storms. Even if there's no actual flash flood warning, I'm just telling you right now, short-term flooding is happening in Arnold. Short-term flooding is happening in Belleville. So just be cautious out towards Mascoutah as well. This is really, really heavy rain. If I zoom in a little bit on Belleville too, see where some of the heavier cores are. It looks like the heaviest cores are just south of town. So I'll slow down and actually stop the radar for you. But as I zoom in and street level map this, 159 and 15 right here, that's where one of the heavier spots. This is the type of rain that can cause hydroplaning. You know, one of the great tools we have is the ability to live stream all this coverage since, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the afternoon. So all this coverage is on the app, it's on a tablet, it's on a website, especially since it can be on a phone. That's really handy. So, you know, if anyone's caught in traffic, wants to know what's going on, if anyone's in the basement at times, if we've had tornado warnings, the live stream can be handy. And I hope that if you see this and you can text some loved ones and say, hey, he's pointing out 13 and 15 and 159 is a spot where hydroplaning. You're about to drive through that and head home from work at 6:30 in the evening. Maybe hold